Good evening to you. Thank you for staying with TV3. This is News at 10, live from our studio here at Adesanwe in Accra. I am Martin Esiedudati. Coming up tonight, 2 persons feared dead in a broad daylight robbery in Sawla in the Savannah region. We have details of the story for you shortly. Also in the bulletin, the special prosecutor, Kisia Jabeng, targets 2022 as the year to tackle corruption head-on, as he outlines a raft of measures he believes will reduce corruption to its barest minimum. We'll tell you the exact thing that the special prosecutor has mentioned as one of the ways he's going to be checking government departments and agencies in terms of the fight against corruption. Before we get into those details, here are highlights of today's big stories.
News at 10 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Superfix Tile Cement.
2 young men are feared dead after a daylight robbery attack at Sawla in the Savannah region. The armed robbers attacked some phone shops in the Sawla township and made away with phones, cash and other valuables. When residents came out to the rescue of the shop owners, the robbers started shooting into the crowd, killing 2 and injuring 3 others. The Office of the Special Prosecutor will, from January next year, demand all ministries, departments and agencies to submit corruption risk mechanisms. The Special Prosecutor, Kisia Jabeng, who made this known at a briefing to mark International Day for Anti-Corruption, noted that the risk assessment to safeguard graft will be for all government-signed contracts.
The OSP would also carry out anti-corruption risk assessment and review from January 2020 of all major public contracts, legislation, and draft legislation. This is intended to avoid toxic deals and the prevalence of judgment debts and arbitration awards.
Ranking Member on Education, Dr. Clement Park, says the recent WASI result is nothing to be celebrated despite the Education Ministry describing the performance as impressive. The Bulsa South MP says 50% of the candidates would not meet the requirements to enter tertiary institutions.
That just about 50% of all those who sat for WASI this year do not have the requisite grades to take up places in tertiary schools. And that is a big indictment, especially when we are talking about maths and English. So we ought to be worried.
Over 30,000 online drivers have resolved to form a union to end what they term the cycle of unfairness by ride-hailing companies. Lack of legislation to control the ride-hailing companies, according to the drivers, has compelled many of their members to stop the business.
What we are calling for is not just allowing each platform to do whatever they think is right, but to have a basic standard. There should be a certain sense of dignity when people are driving on the platform.
Let's go straight to our stories we have for you tonight. The host of Onua Marching, blessed God's Brain Smart, aka Captain Smart, has pleaded not guilty to the charge of offensive conduct conducive to the breach of the peace under Section 207 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, at a circuit court in Accra on Thursday. The court, however, declined the police's application to keep Captain Smart in custody for 7 days to prevent interference in further investigations. But counsel for Captain Smart disagreed, arguing that the accused had earlier been granted bail, during which period he did not interfere with police investigations into the case. The court granted him a 100,000 Ghana cedi bail with one surety to be justified. Captain Smart is also to report to the police twice a week, which will be on Tuesdays and Fridays. Hearing has meanwhile been adjourned to Tuesday, the 11th of January 2022. Now, the Ghana police in Tema have gunned down one suspected armed robber in Tema, Gulf City specifically, which is in the Greater Accra region. This happened on Monday, the 6th of December. A police statement said on Thursday, December 9. Following a distress call about a robbery attack in the area, the statement said a police patrol team immediately responded and led and pursued two suspects who were on a motorbike with the registration number covered in black polythene bag. The suspects engaged the police in a shootout leading to the death of one. The second suspect managed to escape. Now, two young men are feared dead after a daylight robbery attack at Sawla in the Savannah region. The armed robbers attacked some phone shops in the Sawla township and made away with phones, cash and other valuables. When residents came out to the rescue of the shop owners, the robbers started shooting into the crowd, killing two and injuring three others. The deceased were among a group of young men who pursued the robbers after the attack. Let's shift our attention to education. Now, the Education Minister has hinted that 2 years after the introduction of the new curriculum textbooks that was fraught with challenges, a new one is currently at the quality assurance stage before being rolled out. Several social media was awash with approved textbooks that generated controversy, with that the GES and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment directing the immediate withdrawal. Dr. Yao Duchum has been speaking on the matter in Parliament.
Textbook production, you got to be careful, because I know the media will be taking the books and they'll be reading page by page, and if, God forbid, there's some grammatical error, you are in trouble. So what we try to do is that beyond what the publisher is saying, we also get a group of experts, especially from the universities, to come together and read the book, edit it carefully, and look for three things. One, you look for the factual inaccuracies and you correct it. And then you go to the grammatical and you do correction. And if they are basic level textbook, you look at the illustration and see, does it align with the story. Once you are sure that all these are working, then you go to the publishing, you go to actually the printing and the contract signing stage to ensure that when the books go to the classroom, you are not going to go through the aggravation that we normally go through with books that are being sold on the market. So that's the reason why the quality assurance becomes critical.
Now, earlier, the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, had indicated that in spite of the 53% pass in math and English, the candidates' performance must be commended, adding that this year's results points to the areas for further improvement.
Now, actually, the average is 60% to 60%. Certain subject areas went up, others were dipped. But when you put it on average, it's still 60%. So if you look at English, for example, there was a dip. Mathematics, there was a dip. But integrated science saw a huge jump, and social studies also saw an increase. So overall, the average is still 60%. But on the other hand, I just want to assure you that mathematics should not see a dip in my time, as somebody who has taught mathematics. So we're going to look at what went wrong and what we can do, which schools did so well, where there were drops, and then we are going to look at how best to ensure that we move up. But the good news is that 2 years in a row, we have in the core subjects seen 50% plus pass rate, which means that more students will then qualify to go to the universities. Because in the past years, what happened was you may have 70% or 80% pass on social studies, and then mathematics is 33%. And because mathematics is 33%, you can't have more than 33% of the students going to the university. So if English is 30%, even if all the other subjects are 70%, you can't have more than 30% going to the university. The moment you move English and mathematics up, then you are guaranteed a higher rate of entry into universities. So this is good news for the country, and I will encourage all of us, the same way that we support the Black Stars when they play and win. When our students play and win, let us come together as a people and celebrate them. So it shouldn't be about why didn't they do this. These young men and women are bold, brave, are in the midst of pandemic, have sat through exams, and they've done well. And I want all of us as Ghanaians to celebrate our young ones.
as the Education Minister. This is News at 10 on TV3. Stay with us. We have more stories for you after this break.
Zoom right here in my house. Hey!
Look up there. Why are you using inferior pen?
It was a mistake. I no check.
Acrobat2, I'm going to knock you out.
I know, sir.
You deserve quality.
Don't make mistakes. Stop!
You did the right thing.
When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury acrylic paint. No be any painting be paint.
The luxury acrylic paint.
Paint me champion.
It was HUS 10 for the Employee of the Quarter Award. Dubai was calling. Oh, and she almost forgot we are still in a pandemic. So she called asking me where to access a COVID test within hours of her surprise trip. She was surprised I got my results within 12 hours just before my last trip outside. Landbill Laboratory and Diagnostic Center is the place. Unmatched quality service and professionalism with a very friendly, hospitable staff atmosphere. 8 hours later, the email came with her results. Now, you know where to go for a COVID-19 urgent test for your next trip out. They are the most efficient I know of. Landbill Laboratory and Diagnostic Center. Results in 12 hours or less.
Alhaji Muntaka. Mana Abubakar. Alhaji, abuko so fun abu. Munafikin TV. Na tun fadi maka. Bari batun TV ga. TV kana son TV mai kyau. Sai dai Franco TV. Gaskiya. Na samu mai kyau ko. Abba. Wanda ke ba da garanti. Abba. Ita kin fada mu dan sunan sanyi. Wala. Muje. Na nin gida. Ga TV. 55.
Allah san
kali kagan 55 nga
3022575533 and I said 0546133188 from
Place a bet, search on the web or get the app. One Expert Bookmaker Company.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
What do you get when you mix extracts of African herbs and fruits with alcohol? Get Origin Bitters, 100% natural African herbs and fruits. Origin Bitters, original taste, original bitters. Also available in ready to drink. A blend of herbs, fruits and alcohol with no artificial sweeteners.
Welcome back. The Office of the Special Prosecutor will, from January next year, demand all ministries, departments and agencies to submit corruption risk mechanisms. The Special Prosecutor, Kese Jabing, who made this known at a briefing to mark International Day for Anti-Corruption, noted that the risk assessment is to safeguard Ghana's fight and make sure that at least the country is able to reduce corruption to the barest minimum.
According to the OSP, 31 cases are currently pending at various levels of investigations. Kese Jabin says his office will from January institute a range of measures including corruption perception league table for government institutions and assessing major state contracts.
The OSP will institute, as part of its pressure for progress drive, an annual Ghana corruption league table to assess perceived levels of public sector corruption in the estimation of experts and business people. In aid of this, public agencies will be ranked against each other on a corruption barometer and the results will be published every 9 December. The OSP would also carry out anti-corruption risk assessment and review from January 2020 of all major public contracts, legislation, and draft legislation. This is intended to avoid toxic deals and the prevalence of judgment debts and arbitration awards.
On the allegations of bribery by Joabi MCE nominee Alexander Safo Kantanka, he indicated that the police has submitted its docket on the case as his office continues with its investigations.
The police and the OSP are working together forcefully in respect of this case. And so, indeed, the docket itself has been handed over by the IGP to the OSP, and we are in the middle of the investigations.
He reiterated his resolve to deal with EC officials who manipulate election results as he works to suppress graft to its barest minimum.
Reacting to the new policy direction by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the co-chair for Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, noted that public prosecution and sanctioning of persons found culpable of corruption will guarantee the policies will work.
Government must provide all the resources that that office needs. If that is taken care of, I think that what he's saying is feasible. So he just needs strategy. And I would say, look at the historical data, identify where over the past 5 years we've had the biggest issues. If the range is 1 million to 5 million or 1 million and above, easier, then you set that as the minimum threshold within which various MMDAs must provide documentation to you for you to do a risk assessment. I think where we have failed is very often there's little prosecution and very few people who are sanctioned to set a precedent for people to be scared. Ghanaians are not scared at all because how many cases have we had? If the SPO will seriously ensure that people are found culpable, they are jailed, they are paying back, not that you jail and then you come back and enjoy the booty. That probably will send the strongest message yet. Because if I look at the last 5 years or so, I think the real issue has been that very little prosecution. All the cases media has come up with, investigative journalists have come up with, we don't see the end of the road to the extent that people have been jailed and money has been, recouped. The ideas he's raised are likely to send shivers down certain corridors where we now need to make sure he gets a lot of support. Because when he talks about examining pink sheets, we now need to make sure that political elites don't have the way of, intruding and interfering with his work. The corruption league table, institutions where they've had a free for all, will now start thinking twice about that. So, yeah.
Let's shift our attention to some other stories now. Over 30,000 online drivers have resolved to form a union and to end what they term the cycle of unfairness by ride-hailing companies. Lack of legislation to control the ride-hailing companies, according to the drivers, has compelled many of their members to stop the business.
The space currently is a gray area, and we don't readily understand whether it solely belongs to the Transport Ministry, whether it belongs to the Communication Ministry because of the digital aspect of it, or whether it hits the tourism environment because it is falling under a very short-term rental of some sort. So everybody seems to be doing whatever it is, and it appears that that particular gray area is being exploited to the detriment of the riders or the drivers. Well, there's nothing like that. It's the companies that are putting together certain rules of engagement on their app. But what we are calling for is not just allowing each platform to do whatever they think is right, but to have a basic standard. There should be a certain sense of dignity when people are driving on the platform. 30,000, that's a lot of numbers. But if you sample these people for anything concerning their work conditions, 8 out of 10 will tell you that they are taking them for granted.
Still Still news at 10 on TV3. We'll be back with more.
They were killed in the bloodiest election in Ghana's democratic history. 6 families now without one of their own, and those who were lucky to survive maimed forever. The chaotic scenes of the hugely contentious polls are still fresh on their minds. 1 year on, no justice, no compensation, and no word from the police.
What in essence it means is their deaths mean nothing. And that is disturbing because they are humans, they are Ghanaians.
Nobody has been arrested, nobody has been prosecuted, and it is a cause for worry because it undermines the rule of law.
Komla Adom in TV3's latest feature speaks to families of victims and survivors of the bloody 2020 December elections. Killed in an election and forgotten. Premieres December 14, 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
You certainly should make a date and book that on your calendar. Set a reminder you want to watch that documentary put together by my colleague Komla Adom. On to some other stories tonight. Member of Parliament for Ishaiso says there was no need for a bench warrant in a case involving him and 6 others over road traffic regulation offences. Stephen Amoahu has been questioning the basis for the court action, maintains he was unfairly treated. He spoke to my colleague George Queding.
My major concern was this bench warrant. In fact, that played central role, very critical role, and all over the world people were like, oh, you didn't go to court and that they have issued bench warrant to arrest you. But I had no idea. I really didn't know there was even court proceedings because I had not been notified. I had not been given any charge. My charge sheet was given to me today. How could you issue bench warrant based on misconception that I decided not to go to court? Then the next day you give me charge sheet. So based on what? The bench warrant then has been quashed. That's the most important thing. So Ghanaians now know that I was not invited.
Meanwhile, the La Magistrate Court has adjourned the case to January 20, 2022.
Even if I had committed road offense, which I don't want to go into because of the court issue, you think the magnitude of public destructive interference of waves, you think it is right? But even if I had, do you think just because of road traffic regulations not adhered to or mistakenly unadhered to, I should be treated this way and paint a picture as if I had committed, an unprecedented crime? It is interesting.
Right now, investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri Awoni is urging the Attorney General and Minister of Justice not to relent in prosecuting when cases are brought before him. He was speaking after he was adjudged the Integrity Personality of the Year at the Ghana Integrity Awards organized by the Ghana Integrity Initiative.
I want to tell my colleague, especially the police officers, is that hard work pays. In our own small way, we can deliver and do well without any eye watching us. And out of that, we shall be rewarded accordingly. So whatever we are doing and wherever we are, let us remember that even if God is not, if human being is not watching, God is watching. I want to dedicate this award, first of all, to God, secondly, to the Ghana Police Service, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu Dampare. In fact, he has become my model when he was selected to be the IGP or the Inspector General of Police. Every day I look up to him and I'm like, I will be like this man.
All right, so a little bit of correction. That officer you just saw on your screen was awarded the officer with the most integrity by the GII. However, Manasseh Aziri-Awene, who was a journalist, was also awarded the Integrity Personality of the Year by the GII. We'll bring you the specifics as to who got what in our subsequent bulletins. Let's find out what's happening elsewhere on the international front.
Countries account for 46% of Omicron cases reported globally, according to the World Health Organization. It says the majority of these countries are within Southern Africa, where scientists are being extra vigilant for other cases and are analyzing samples to check for changes to the virus. Hospitalization rates and severe cases remain low in South Africa, local data shows, but research is still ongoing, the World Health Organization has said. No coronavirus deaths have been linked to the Omicron variant, and travel bans won't stop the virus from circulating, the global health body says. Getting vaccines into people's arms will prevent the virus from mutating further. In Africa, only Mauritius, Morocco, Tunisia, Seychelles, Cape Verde, and Botswana have reached the global target of vaccinating 40% of their populations by the end of this year. Many African countries are yet to administer jabs for logistical reasons, while public skepticism about getting the vaccine remains a barrier. Negotiations between Iran and world powers aimed at salvaging a tattered 2015 nuclear deal have resumed in Vienna after a few days' pause, with tensions high after Tehran made demands last week that European countries strongly criticized. European Union diplomat Enrique Mora, who chaired Thursday's meeting of all the deal's remaining signatories, Iran, the UK, France, Germany, Russia and China, said afterwards that he felt a renewed sense of purpose on the need to work and to reach an agreement on bringing the agreement back to life. He said it is becoming more imperative with time to reach an agreement quickly. Iran's top negotiator in nuclear talks said he had insisted Tehran was serious in the negotiations, underlying that Iran was continuing talks based on its previous positions. The United States has participated indirectly in the talks because it withdrew from the accord in 2018 under then-President Donald Trump. President Joe Biden has signaled that he wants to rejoin the deal and plans to send a delegation to Vienna over the weekend. Diplomats from the UK, France and Germany had urged Tehran to come back with realistic proposals after the Iranian delegation made numerous demands last week that the other parties to the accord deemed unacceptable.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to a close. Thank you very much for watching. I am Martin Osiedu-Dati. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. You'll have a good evening, and as always, stay positive. Bye for now, and Merry Christmas.
Hello and welcome to your favorite Wednesday evening program here on TV3. We are live with GPL Express, and this, as always, is your most refreshing and authoritative show on the domestic football scene. Tonight, we have been joined by a giant in the local football scene, an often tagged controversial and also outspoken football administrator who pulls no punches and is brutally frank to the core.
Mean by difficult. We are going to beat Kotoko, inshallah. Don't mind. I told you already, I say inshallah. Yes. This year you will see different confessors.
Yes.
We have boys to run with any defender in this country. In this country, we have the striker. He can run with any player. That is Zuberu. I told TV3, without Ibrahim, we are going to beat Kotoko. Yes. Without Sarkodia, we are going to beat Kotoko. Yes. We beat them. Yes. We beat them. Yes. This is confession. This year, we raise the team to trophy. Inshallah, we reach there. Yes.
Right, so Alhaji Karim Grusa is my guest here on GPL Express. Alhaji, thank you very much for joining me.